Good day everyone. Today we'll be discussing about the popular literary genres, and these are some of literary genres. We have here the five. First, science fiction. Second, detective fiction. Third, comic book. Fourth, comic strips. And fifth one is magic realism. So without anything else, let's introduce the popular literature. So popular literature is in a written work that is read or is intended to be read by a mass audience. So in its broadest sense, popular literature may include best-selling nonfiction books, widely circulated periodicals, and certain kinds of digital text. However, the term is typically used to refer to as work of fiction that are distinguished from what is often called as high literature, which is it is more on artistic literature or simply literature. Since the late 20th century, works of popular literature have often classified as genre fiction and their purported opposite literary fiction. So, in other words, popular literature is writing made for a large group of people to enjoy reading. It includes books, magazines, and even digital text. Most often, it refers to as fiction or stories that are easy to understand and entertaining, unlike high literature, which is more serious and artistic. So now let's proceed to the some genre of popular literature. First, we have here the science fiction. So, by the way, what is science fiction? So, science fiction is often called as sci-fi, or it is a short term for science fiction. It is actually a genre of fiction literature whose content is imaginative but based on or based in science. In other words, it is a type of story that uses imagination mixed with science. It also talks about things that could possibly happen because of science or technology. In addition, it relies heavily on scientific facts, theories, and principles as support for its settings, characters, themes, and plot lines. So, which is what makes it different from the fantasy. So, when the storylines and elements of science fiction stories are imaginary, they are usually possible according to science or at least plausible. So, although examples of science fiction can be found as far as back as the Middle Ages, its presence in literature was not particularly significant until the late 1800s. It's the true popularity for both writers and audiences come with the rise of technology over the 150 years with development such as electricity, medical advances, industrial growth, and so on. So, as technology and science progress, so does the genre of science fiction. So, now let's proceed to the types of science fiction. Science fiction is usually distinguished either hard or soft. So, we have two types, hard or soft. So, when we say hard science fiction, it is hard science fiction usually follows scientific facts and principles. So, hard science fiction more on facts and principles. It is strongly focused on natural sciences like physics, astronomy, chemistry, astrophysics, and etc. So, interestingly, hard science is often written by real scientists and has been known for making both accurate and inaccurate predictions for the future events. For example, the recent film Gravity. It is actually the story of an astronaut whose spacecraft is damaged while the repairs while she repairs the satellite was renowned for its scientific accuracy in terms of what would actually happen in the space. In short, hard science focuses on real scientific facts like the space, physics, or chemistry. So we have here the example that was given a while ago. It's a gravity movie. It is a movie that shows what really happens in the space. So the second one is the soft science. So soft science fiction is characterized by a focus on social science. So more on social sciences like anthropology, sociology, psychology, and politics. In other words, science involving human behavior. So soft sci Soft-sci stories mainly addresses the possible scientific consequences of human behavior. For example, here is the Destiny animated. It is an animated film of Wall-E. Is an apocalyptic science fiction story about the end of life on Earth as a result of man's disregard for nature. In truth, the, the most works use a combination of both hard, soft, and science fiction. Hard and soft science fiction. So, soft science fiction focuses on people and society. So, how human behave when science changed the world. So, the example given a while ago is a Wall-E. It is a movie shows how people damage the earth. And moreover, soft science fiction allows student audiences to connect on the emotional level. So, it is more on emotion. And hard sci fiction adds real scientific evidences so that they can imagine the action actually happening. So, combining the two is better storytelling technique because it lets audiences connect with the story and the two levels. So, it is good to combine the two. So, science fiction is also has a seemingly endless number of subgenres, including but not limited to time travel, apocalyptic, utopian or dystopian, alternative history, space opera, and military science fiction. Okay, we are done about the science fiction. Now let's move to the detective fiction story. So, detective story is a type of popular literature in which a crime is introduced and investigated and the culprit is revealed. In simple words, it is a story where there's a crime or a mystery and the detective investigates, finds clues, and in the end reveals the real criminal. So, the traditional elements of the detective story are first, the seemingly perfect crime, second, the wrongly accused suspect at whom circumstantial evidence points, the third is the boggling of dim-witted police. Fourth is the greater power of observation and superior mind of the detective. And the last but not the least is the number 5, distorting and unexpected denouement or resolution or conclusion in which the detective reveals how the identity of the culprit was ascertained. So detective stories frequently operate on the principle that superficially convincing evidence is ultimately irrelevant. So popular example of detective story is the Edgar Allan Poe entitled The Murders in the Rue Morgue and the Arthur Conan Doyle's Sherlock Holmes series, which feature prominent detectives solving complex crimes for readers to enjoy. So it is to please the readers. So other classic examples include Agatha Christie's Hercule Poirot novels. It is actually a novels such as Murder on the Orient Express and Dashiell Hammett's. It is the Maltese faction. And we have also here the comic strip or also called as a storyboard. It is actually a sequence of drawings, either in color or black and white, relating a comic incident, an adventure or mystery, mystery story or etc. Often serialized, meaning series, typically having dialogue printed on balloons and usually printed as horizontal strip in daily newspapers and in uninterrupted block of or longer sequence of such strips on Sunday newspapers and comic books. So, series of adjacent drawn images, usually arranged horizontally, that are designed to be read as a narrative or chronological sequence. In simple words, comic strip or comic board is a story told with pictures and drawings. So, pictures and drawings, usually with speech bubbles for dialogue. They can be funny, adventurous, or mysterious. It is usually found in the newspapers, comic books, or it could be seen online. So, and why are they useful? Because first, comics are fun and interesting, at the same time motivating. Comics promote a wide variety of skills. It could include cognitive, intellectual, social, and cultural, meaning it helps students learn the skills like thinking, analyzing, problem solving. So can help students develop higher order thinking skills like sequencing, predicting, inferring, synthesizing, analyzing, evaluating, and many more. So at the same time, it also enhances students' engagement with multimodal text. So I hope you understand about the popular literature, and thank you so much.